Good day, everyone. This report is about the Zen Buddhist philosophy on the Kōan method as a means of developing critical thinking. First and foremost, before we proceed to our topic, allow us to introduce ourselves. I am Charles Joan M. Rosales, a fourth-year philosophy student at Bukidnon State University under the pre-law track.
And I am Ginalyn Simidario.
Now, let us begin. So, our report will comprise of first, the history of Zen Buddhism, a comprehensive overview of Zen Buddhism, the definition or etymology of the word Zen, primary characteristics of Zen Buddhism, including its features, the koans, the just sitting, and we will be immersed in a particular philosophical question, and then we will proceed with the thesis Kōan as means of developing critical thinking. Under this thesis, we will be discussing the state of critical thinking in modern Asia, how to utilize koans for critical thinking, and we will be giving examples of koans. So, here's my partner Jen for the history of Zen Buddhism.
The origins of Zen Buddhism. So when we say it is Zen Buddhism, also known as Zen Buddhism in China, has its roots in early Indian Buddhism. So particularly the Mahayana tradition, it emphasizes the direct experience of enlightenment and the transmissions of wisdom from master to student through meditation and direct insight. So when we say samadhi or a deepened state of meditation, so in Zen, meditation or zazen is a core practice. So this can involve focusing on the breath, a koan, which means a paradoxical question or statement, or simply being aware of the present moment. So sila, or observation of ethical precepts. Ethical conduct is a fundamental aspect of Buddhist practice. So Zen practitioners are expected to observe ethical precepts which guide their behavior and actions. So example is non-violence. So prajna or non-discriminatory wisdom or practical experiential knowledge. So Zen places great emphasis on direct experiential wisdom or prajna. So this wisdom goes beyond intellectual understanding and is based on one's own direct experience of reality. So example to this is which a Zen practitioner might engage in zazen or meditation to attain a deep state of samadhi. So during these meditations, they might contemplate a koan, such as what is the sound of a hand clapping. So this practice challenges conventional thinking and can lead to a direct experiential insights, which is an expression of prajna. So and additionally, the practitioner observes ethical precepts in their daily life, ensuring that their actions are aligned with compassion and non-harming.
So, in Zen Buddhism, self-cultivation, often referred to shugyo, which is a central concept. It involves practical method of correcting one's mind by first correcting the modality of one's body, which we will be delving deeper in the succeeding slides. The emphasis in Zen is on direct practice or praxis rather than theoretical understanding, and this practical approach takes precedence in achieving the goals of enlightenment and self-realization. So here's an example. A classic example of the emphasis on self-cultivation through practice in Zen is Zazen or seated meditation. In Zazen, practitioners sit in a specific posture, focusing on their breath and sometimes contemplating a koan. The correction of the body's posture and consciousness, regulation of the breath, are used as a means to calm and center the mind. So, Zen Buddhism was then formalized in China after arriving from Indian Buddhism as Chan and eventually transmitted to Japan, where it took root and thrived in the 13th century. As of the present time, there are two popular schools of Zen Buddhism, the Renzai school and the Soto school. These schools have distinct approaches and practices within the Zen tradition. So, Renzai schools emphasizes the Kōan practice. The Renzai school places a strong emphasis on Kōan practice. For example, a well-known Kōan in Renzai tradition is, "What is the sound of one hand clapping?" Practitioners meditate on and contemplate this koan intensely, aiming to reach a point of direct realization that transcends ordinary conceptual thinking. So, for Soto school, on the other hand, Zazen is the core practice. They place centrality around seated meditation. While koan study is not absent in Soto, it takes a backseat to the emphasis on silent, seated meditation. Soto practitioners aim for shikantaza, which means just sitting, without a specific goal or object of meditation. In Soto Zen, a practitioner would simply sit in Zazen, following their breath and allowing thoughts to come and go without attachment. Both the Renzai and Soto schools share the fundamental principles of Zen, such as the direct experience of enlightenment and the teacher-student relationship. However, their approaches to practice differ, with Renzai placing more emphasis on koan study and Soto focusing on shikantaza, or just sitting in Zazen. So, here's a comprehensive overview of Zen Buddhism. But before we delve into its common or primary features and characteristics, let's first have a definition or understanding of what the word Zen really means. So, it means sitting meditation. It is a Japanese term derived from the Chinese word Chan, which in turn originated from the Sanskrit word jhana. This progression reflects the evolution of meditation practices and their transmission from India to China and eventually to Japan.
So jhana in Sanskrit means, jhana is a term in Sanskrit that refers to meditation or contemplation. So it's a fundamental practice in Indian Buddhism. So particularly in the early stages of Buddhism, jhana involves focus, concentration, and mindfulness to attain deep states of mind, of mental absorption and insight. So evolution in China. So in China, Chan or Zen underwent further development, emphasizing not only seated meditation but also a direct, which means the experiential approach to enlightenment. So it places importance on the mind-to-mind transmission of wisdom from teacher to student, and the use of koans to provoke insight. So the primary distinction is that in Zen Buddhism, so the primary distinction lies in the way wisdom accompanied by compassion is expressed in the everyday world when interacting with oneself, so other people and nature. So these integrations of wisdom and compassion in daily life is a hallmark of Zen practice. So, everyone has the Buddha nature, hence having the potential of enlightenment or a way of life. Ultimate goal is Satori.
So, as we have heard from Jen, primary distinction of Zen Buddhism is that it is wisdom loaded with compassion, expressed in associating with oneself, with other people, and of course, with nature. So, Zen Buddhists believe that every person has the Buddha nature in him or in her. Hence, we all have, according to Zen Buddhism, the potential to become enlightened. Because Zen Buddhism is a way of life that offers the path to this enlightenment. Maong, ang ultimate goal sa Zen Buddhism is Satori, or the Japanese word for
Enlightenment.
So, Zen Buddhism is characterized or often characterized by a lot of scholars as anti-philosophy due to its emphasis on direct experience and non-conceptual understanding. So, it challenges traditional philosophical approaches that rely on conceptual reasoning and intellectual analysis. Instead, Zen prioritizes a direct, experiential, and non-discursive approach to understanding reality. It encourages practitioners to engage in meditation and mindfulness to transcend conceptual thinking and attain direct insight into the nature of existence. In Zen, the ultimate truth is considered ineffable and beyond the limitations of language and logical thought. So, what does it mean? For example, let's consider the concept of emptiness in Zen. In traditional philosophy, one might engage in lengthy debates and intellectual discussions about what emptiness means and its implications. However, in Zen, practitioners are encouraged to experience emptiness directly through meditation and mindfulness and not grapple with it rationally and waste time arriving at useless philosophical contention. So, for example, on emptiness during meditation, a practitioner might focus on their breath and let go of conceptual thinking associated with emptiness. As they do this, they may start to realize the emptiness of thoughts, concepts, and the self. The direct experience of emptiness transcends intellectual analysis and provides a profound understanding of reality that cannot be adequately conveyed through words or logical reasoning. So as we can see, Zen Buddhism does not engage primarily on any discussion, on any discourse, because for them it means nothing. It means useless. Instead, they directly go to the experience of the abstract concept that Western philosophy often deals with, because for them, experiencing these abstractions concretely is the right way to have a profound understanding of these abstractions. So, for the next slide, another characteristic of Zen Buddhism is overcoming dualism. So it is not binary, it is not dualistic.
So Zen indeed aims to transcend the dualistic and binary way of perceiving the world by fostering a holistic or and non-dualistic perspective in cognitions. So this shift in perspective allows practitioners to fully embrace and celebrate the events of everyday life natures with a still and focused mind. So, Zen encourages practitioners to embody the freedom that arises from recognizing their Buddha nature. So, their inherent and awakened nature, that is, which means the Buddha nature. To consider a Zen practitioner observing a simple act like a pouring tea. So, in a dualistic or binary perspective, one might see this act as a mundane task with a clear distinction between the pourer, the teapot, and the tea being poured and the tea being poured. So, these separations can lead to a sense of disconnections. So, negating non-dualistic stance occurring when the Zen practitioner feels in the whole as one while spending the judgments and meditations. So, the negations of non-dualistic stance in Zen can occur when a practitioner momentarily departs from the state of perceiving the whole as one. So, typically due to the habitual nature of judgment and conceptual thinking. So, in Zen meditations, so the goal is often to reach in a state of non-dual awareness where distinctions and judgments are suspended. However, the mind can still slip into dualistic thinking, creating a temporary departure from the non-dual state. So, for example, imagine a Zen practitioner deep in meditations, experiencing a profound sense of oneness with their surroundings. So, where the boundaries between the self and the external world seem to dissolve. So, this is a non-dualistic state where everything is interconnected and whole, and judgments are temporarily suspended.
Another stance of Zen Buddhism is the not two, negating dualistic stance that divides the whole into two parts. Negating a dualistic stance in Zen involves transcending the tendency to divide the whole into two separate parts or categories. This means overcoming the habit of perceiving reality in terms of opposites or distinctions. Instead, Zen seeks to embrace a holistic, non-dual perspective where such divisions are transcended. For example, consider the concept of good and bad in a dualistic perspective. In everyday life, people often label events, actions, or situations as either good or bad based on their personal judgments and conditioning. This dualistic thinking can lead to attachment, aversion, and suffering. So if we merge these two stances, it is summarized into a positionless position because Zen really avoids wholeness, dualness, or binariness, hence a positionless position.
So, so now let's proceed to experiential meaning of not to. So what does it mean? So now let's go deeper and explore. So in Zen Buddhism, the experiential meaning of not to is a fundamental concept. So it signifies the realization that there is no inherent separation between seemingly opposing or dualistic concepts such as self and other, good and bad, or subject and object. So it reflects the interconnected nature of all phenomena. Zen practitioners seek to transcend the illusions of separateness and recognize that everything is interdependent. So, this insight leads to a deep sense of unity with the world. So, consider dualistic concept of self and other. So in conventional thinking, we often perceive ourselves as separate from everything else in the world. So we have a distinct identity and consider others as separate individuals. So these separations can lead to various conflicts. Yeah, that is the reality. Misunderstandings and a sense of isolation. So in Zen practice, a practitioner seeks to experience the not to nature of self and other. So during meditations or deep contemplations, they may reflect on the boundaries that define the self and start to see that these boundaries are not fixed or absolute. So they realize that the self is intimately interconnected with others and with the world at large. So through these realizations, so the practitioner transcends the illusions of separateness, recognizing that the self and other are interdependent and interconnected. So this insight leads to a profound sense of unity with the world, where the well-being of the self is intimately tied to the well-being of others and vice versa. So it fosters compassion, empathy, and a deep sense of harmony with all of existence.
So let's proceed with the Zen understanding of time and space. So here's the Zen understanding of time and space. So it is deeply rooted in the concept of impermanence, in the notion of timeless present moment. Zen teaches that the past and future are illusory constructs, and the only reality is the here and now. The practice of meditation and mindfulness is a means to fully immerse oneself in the timeless present, transcending ordinary notions of time and space. Time is viewed as a continuous flow, and space is seen as interconnected and boundaryless. This understanding allows Zen practitioners to let go of attachments to past regrets and future anxieties, leading to a profound sense of liberation and interconnectedness with the universe. So explanation, in Zen Buddhism, the concept of time and space is deeply intertwined with impermanence, emphasizing the timeless nature of the present moment. The understanding is that the past and the future are illusory constructs, and reality exists only in the immediacy of the here and now. Imagine a Zen practitioner engaged in meditation. During this practice, the individual deliberately focuses on their breath, letting go of thoughts about the past or future. In this state of mindfulness, the practitioner experiences time not as a linear progression, but as a continuous flow in the present. So, example, the paradox lies in the assertion that there are 7,000 or 1,700 cases of koans, but when sub-questions are added, the number increases to 3,000. This creates a puzzle where the apparent simplicity of the initial statement becomes complex and paradoxical when sub-questions are introduced. So, the intention is to provoke a shift in consciousness beyond ordinary intellectual reasoning situated in the present time. So, those are the characteristics of Zen Buddhism. So, its time and space is rooted in the concept of impermanence and timeless present moment, and it has stances which can be summarized into a positionless position, and it is also considered as anti-philosophy, non-dualistic, and non-binary. So, after discussing those characteristics of Zen Buddhism, let's move forward to one of its methodologies, which the first is the Kōan methodology, and the second is the just sitting or shikantaza. So these methodologies employed by Zen practitioners are means for achieving Satori. So what are these methodologies? Let's have first the Kōan. So what are Kōans? So koans are statements that are formulated like a riddle or a puzzle, designed in such a way that intellectual reasoning alone cannot solve it without breaking through the barrier of ego consciousness by driving to its limits. So the very nature of these koans is paradoxical. At the present moment, according to Hakuin, there are 1700 cases of koans, but if sub-questions are added, there are 3,000 of them. So, under these, there are 5 categories of koans. But first, let's have an example. Consider a koan that plays with this paradox, asking something like, how can the number of koan cases be both 1700 and 3,000 simultaneously? The question challenges the practitioner to go beyond the logical mind and delve into a deeper, intuitive understanding, pushing the boundaries of ego consciousness to grasp the paradoxical nature of the statement. So, what are the categories of koans? So, there are 5 categories of koans. First is the design for reaching Li. Second is designed for linguistic articulation. So Li, those koans are designed for the body of truth, for reaching truth, reaching suchness, reaching the actuality of something or someone. So the second type of koan is designed for linguistic articulation or Jensen of meditational experiences in order to master the skillful use of language. So these types of koan focus more on language skills or expertise. So the most difficult koans that is almost impossible to understand, to transcend, are called the nanto. So for the practitioner to make an insight of koan experiences pertinent to daily life, in order to embody a middle way in which a practitioner won't be steeped either in the state of meditation or the activity of daily life. So that is Ikan. Like, it embodies a middle way of not being immersed into meditation and not also being extremely immersed into the activity of life or daily life, but just a balancing between the two. And the last type of koan is the going beyond, going beyond the state of Buddhahood by erasing traces of enlightenment in order to achieve a traceless enlightenment. So this is very transcendental type of koan, because you will be living Buddhahood. Like, it's if we simplify this concept or this understanding, it means going beyond an enlightened state. So those are the 5 categories of koan. Next is the just sitting that will be discussed by my partner Janalyn.
So just sitting or shikantaza. So the Zen practitioner engaged in the practice in the midst of the original enlightenment or practice realizations, which is non-dual. So meditation without intervention of ego logical interest, concern or desire, to that the practice remains unfulfilled. So the cleaning process of becoming aware of the original enlightenment with an expansion of its corresponding experiential correlates, and horizons. So, practice in the midst of original enlightenment. So the term original enlightenment in Zen refers to the inherent awakening or enlightened nature presence in all beings from the beginning. So the practitioner engaged in the Zen practice with the understanding that enlightenment is not something to be attained, but something to be realized or uncovered. So meditation without ego, logical interventions. So in this practice, meditation is approached without the intrusion of ego-driven thoughts, interests, concerns, or desire. The goal is to transcend the usual working of the egoic mind and allow the practitioner to directly experience reality or direct experience without the distortion imposed by personal attachments or judgments. So, deepening awareness of original enlightenment. So, as the practitioner continues with the practice, there is a gradual deepening of awareness regarding the inherent enlightenment. So, this involves an expansion of experiential correlates, such as heightened sense of interconnectedness, compassion, and more profound understanding of the nature of existence. So expanding experiential correlates and horizons. So what does it mean? So as it is stated in the PPT. So the process goes beyond a narrow or limited understanding of enlightenment. So it involves an unfolding awareness that extends beyond the individual self, encompassing a broader perspective on the interconnectedness of all things. So next is let's proceed to Sikantaza procedure.
So how do you do the sitting meditation that is central in Zen Buddhism? So these are just a general overview of how Zen Buddhists do it. There's no need to delve deeply into this procedure since this is for academic purposes only. This is for general information purposes, and we're not planning to join Zen Buddhism. So having an overview of this procedure is enough. So first is the adjustment of the body. To cultivate a posture that is stable, alert, and free from distraction. The alignment of the body is crucial for maintaining focus during meditation. By adjusting the body, the practitioner aims to find a comfortable yet upright position that supports mindfulness and concentration. For the adjustment of breathing, rather, to bring awareness to the breath, fostering a natural and enforced rhythmic pattern. Conscious breathing helps anchor the mind in the present moment, serving as a focal point for meditation. The adjustment of breathing aims to create a harmonious and effortless flow, promoting a tranquil state of mind. So that's for the adjustment of the body and the adjustment of breathing. Now let's proceed to the adjustment of the mind. So in this adjustment, redirect and settle the mind, letting go of wandering thoughts and mental chatter. The practitioner seeks to cultivate a state of alert receptivity without attachment to specific thoughts or expectations. Adjusting the mind involves acknowledging distractions and gently returning focus to the present moment. And the ultimate level of this procedure is the no mind. So, to transcend the ordinary working and thinking of the mind and reach a state of profound stillness and awareness. The ultimate goal of shikantaza is to move beyond conceptual thinking, allowing the mind to become clear, open, and unburdened. The no-mind state involves a direct, non-dual awareness of reality beyond the confines of ordinary cognitive processes. So, that is the shikantaza procedure and the Kōan methodology of Zen Buddhism. Now that we have a general information about what Zen Buddhism is, its general characteristic, its procedures, what these practitioners do. So what is the aim, the goal, the system, or the worldview of Zen Buddhism? Here's a philosophical question that will allow us to ponder with regards Zen Buddhism. So here's the question. Aside from being a means of satori or enlightenment, can one utilize koans in any other way in the modern setting? How? Or to rephrase it, originally, koans are intended as means of enlightenment. Are there other ways that we can utilize the koans, most specifically in the modern world? How so? Or how are we going to do so? So we will give the audiences, the listeners, a few moments of silence to reflect and ponder upon this philosophical question. So, me and Jen arrived at our own answer, and this answer will come in the next slide. Koans can be utilized as a method for developing critical thinking, specifically in the modern world. So, how are we going to do so? First of all, why do we need to develop critical thinking? What is happening to critical thinking, most especially in modern Asia? How is it going? So here are some examples of the state of critical thinking, or actually the very poor state of critical thinking in modern Asia. So we're talking about a problem here, rather, that our thesis that koans can be utilized as a means of developing critical thinking is addressing. So first is that there is a severe less priority on courses related to the liberal arts, humanities, and social sciences. As we can see here in the Philippines, the government is more focused on innovation, technology, that these policies are without substance because it does not comprise critical thinking. What they have just in mind is innovation, growth, development, without considering important and other factors in going through such path. That's why they prioritize subjects related to hard sciences, to technology, and to engineering, like technical ones, pragmatic ones, and thus subjects relating to critical thinking such as liberal arts, humanities, and social sciences are given less priority. Another factor of the poor state of critical thinking in modern Asia is the rise of right-wing governments. Actually, in Myanmar, the right-wing government, the military coup, is now a reality, is now severely implemented. Here in the Philippines, we have elected a leader through fake news, through false information, and political polarization is rampant. Democracy, freedom of the press, activism is killed and suppressed. When you criticize, when you ask questions, when you delve into the important discourses that relates to our socio-political and socio-economic welfare, you will be labeled as NPA, you will be red tagged as a communist rebel because you forwarded irrelevant and true question with regards the welfare of the people. And actually, there's a promotion of rigid obedience by becoming obsessed governments, most specifically in Southeast Asia, becoming obsessed with rigid obedience by implementing things like mandatory ROTC, like mandatory military service, etc. And there is a low quality public discourses present at the moment for people are satisfied with the status quo. So that's how poor the state of critical thinking is in modern Asia. So our thesis responds to such problem by contending that utilizing koans can be developed as a means, can be used as a means rather to develop critical thinking. So how are we going to utilize koans for this pursuit? So first is use the Kōan method as a mode of teaching the way the Socratic method is being used. So many courses nowadays, no, even if Socratic method is archaic, they integrate the method in their curriculums, in their classes, in the grassroots level of learning, such as discussions and questioning. Why not use also the Kōan method in these settings or in the classroom setup? So how? Like for instance, what is the sound of a society reconciling its historical injustices? So you can really employ, just like we utilize Socratic question. Another one is, if justice is blind, does it also become deaf to the voices of the marginalized? So those are Kōan framings of critical questions that we can employ in liberal arts, humanities, and social sciences curriculums and classes. So second, use the structure of Kōan in formulating questions with regards socio-political issues. For example, can a nation truly progress without acknowledging and learning from its past mistakes? So those are examples of Kōan framing of questions with regard to socio-political issues. Another one, in the silence between opposing arguments, what common ground remains unexplored? Diba? That's how effective Kōan is if we utilize it in situations like this to foster proper critical thinking. Another one, use the Kōan style of thinking in public discourses such as debate. Because debate in the status quo, we always employ arguments, substantive arguments, criticisms, syllogisms. But why not present or integrate Kōan framing of questions in one's speech or in one debate in order to test the effectiveness and efficiency of integrating the Kōan style of thinking, such as in public discourses or debate. Lastly, so this is not limited to this utilization. We can utilize in a lot of ways Kōans in all or every aspect of the modern world in order to foster critical thinking. So here's the last one. For our suggestion, both of us, ni Jen, on how to utilize Kōans. Utilize Kōan in a way that people will become more drawn to the art of reasonable thinking. Because by incorporating Kōan-like inquiries into discussions, individuals are prompted to transcend conventional thinking and engage in a more profound exploration of the issues at hand. This approach fosters an appreciation for nuance and reflective reasoning, drawing people into the art of not just antagonistic but contemplative and reasoned dialogue. So those are ways on how we can utilize Kōans in relation to our thesis that Kōans can be used as a means for developing critical thinking in the modern world. So, here are some examples of koans. But before we proceed, these are a recap of how koans work. So, all koans are presented in the same way. First, the underlying event, what had happened. Second, in bold letters, the text of the koan. Third, a short comment and the source of the koan. So, koan number 1, the crying boy. So, here's the situation. What had happened? A boy cries all day long, as children sometimes do. The koan text. A master cuts off a boy's finger. Is this boy crying? The boy cries and runs away. The master calls him back and holds up his own finger. The boy looks at it and is enlightened. So those are examples of koan. Tricky, no? So comment. What's the koan about? A horror story. The master excuses his violent behavior as necessary to bring the boy to enlightenment. So that's the meaning of that koan. Another one. Koan number 2, kitchen work. What had happened? A young man washes a bowl. Not that unusual. So the girl asked him, "You're not the Buddha, are you?" So the koan text, monk. Teaching or washing? Please teach me, master. Master, have you had your porridge yet? Yes, master. Master, then wash your bowl. Comment, no comment. So, yeah, koans are quite funny, not just tricky, but also funny. So, it really stimulates critical thinking. It really engages people. It has the potential of making people cooperate with each other, since especially Filipinos, we love jokes very much, especially intellectual jokes, even if we don't understand a particular intellectual joke. So, another one, koan 3, a clever Buddha. So, what happened? A boring philosophical debate. Oh, John, did you really cut him off? Yes, I did. The koan text. A scholar wanted the Buddha to express the truth of Buddhism in just one word. The Buddha turned to the wall to meditate. Meditation or debate? Comment. The Buddha doesn't care about philosophy. So yeah, very amazing how koans work. They may sound absurd or weird at first, but they eventually work. They make sense at the end. So yeah. So that's all. That's our report about Zen Buddhist philosophy. So here are sources on the screens. You can search, you can pause the screen and take a screenshot so that you can save these sources if you are interested, if there's more that you want with regards Zen Buddhist philosophy. So here are the sources. Yeah, there's a lot actually. So that would be all, and thank you once again. This is Charles Joan M. Rosales
And Geraldine Midilio.
reporting on Zen Buddhist philosophy. Have a nice day.